Guys, it's yaoi time. So I heard you're a doctor. He's a cute doctor. Now we getting jumped. The yaoi build is killing me right now. Was Asakura really a pedophile? Yeah. Welcome back, guys. I know, it's been a while. It's been a little minute. I'm here now, and that's what really matters, right? Okay. You got the first bite. So if you don't remember what happened last time, I'll fill you in. Last time we played as Toa, a troubled artist with a tragic past who lives in a not so good area. He's a stalker. Thanks for waiting for me. Let's get into it. I went back home to the clinic, but Ikuino was taken to a different facility, Takano Kuchi Medical Office. After cutting each other to shreds, Ikuino and I had lost a lot of blood, and if I had waited any longer to make the call, he said I might have died. But from my perspective, this sort of thing happened all the time. We live a really wild life, guys. I would interrogate my art model to learn their darkest wishes, and then I would grant them. If I determined that I was able to grant their wish, and that they truly craved it from the bottom of their heart, I would respond to their email. That said, I rejected any desires pertaining directly to death. Not that I was afraid to die, but there was no coming back from it. Once I was dead, there was nothing to look forward to. I could generally find out if someone's desire was the real deal by talking to them about it. It helped that I could observe their emotional reactions through their smoke. If it wasn't the real deal, then I called the whole thing off on the spot. Thus far, I have never made the wrong call. By making use of my conversational skills and their smoke, I could get a near-perfect read on people. This made them easy marks to manipulate. I only choose the ones I knew who wouldn't turn around and regret it later. That was why I often went a few months in between pieces. Why was I so committed to drawing people's dark desires? Well, for one thing, it interested me, and for another, I lived for the exact moment when my model's dream came true and their every trace of rationality melted away like butter. Chapter 1, the phrase, end. So we completed chapter 1. I guess I should have went through that in the first video, but now we're on to chapter 2. After Taku patched me up back at the clinic, he ordered me to stay and recuperate until I regained my strength. This too always happened after a euphoric episode. He would hover at my side and nurse me back to health. And since he already did my laundry and cleaned my apartment, it wasn't much extra work. Ray warned him not to neglect the clinic patients too much. According to Ray, Taku was a kind and generous person who tended to get tunnel vision when he focused too hard on one thing. He and I had known each other for a long time, but even then, Ray felt he was often overly protective of me. Ray's a little jelly. After a week of medical treatment, I was able to sit upright again. Although I was in less than stellar condition, I started camping out in my room to paint. So we're painting again, we've got inspiration. Before Ikuina's contribution faded away entirely, I puked it all out of my system, steadily drowning my white canvas in paint. Now that I had entered the painting stage, I became a single-minded robot. Neither Taku nor Ray tried to interact with me. They just watched from the doorway. Anytime they tried to speak to me while I was painting, I just ignored them. I didn't turn the TV on like normal, nor did I take any smoke breaks. If at any point my brush fell still, it was to stare blankly into space, or pass out on the floor. By this point, Taku and Ray had given up trying to change me, so they just let me do my thing. Only once I finished my art, whether that was in a week or a month, would I leave my apartment. This time, it took 2 weeks. I barely ate or drank the entire time, so I was emaciated and weak. Here we go, we still not eating. Just coffee and cigarettes, coffee and cigarettes. We don't know nothing else, just coffee and cigarettes. Since it wasn't safe for me to be walking around in that state, Taku and Ray demanded that I contact them as soon as my art was finished. Still seated in front of the easel, I set down my paintbrush and pulled my phone out of the pocket of my coveralls. My fingers, stained with black paint, slowly typed out a message to the Taku Ray group chat. A short while later, I heard the elevator arrive at my floor. Loud footsteps approached my door. Then it burst open and Taku ran in, dressed in his white lab coat. Yeah, we're done. We made peak. We created art. I nodded. With a sigh of relief, Taku walked up to me. I mean, I am now. Amen to that. Woo! Oh, he's gonna make Ray go get us some food. Nice. Pulled his cell phone out of his coat pocket. When I was painting, I scarcely felt the need to eat or use the restroom, literally at all. Then once I finished, it would all come crashing down on me. Too exhausted to stand, I slumped over at the easel. Maybe you should lie down with me. Just saying. Once he was done talking to Ray, Taku walked over and crouched down beside me. Pulled my lower eyelid down, pressing a palm to my forehead, and checked a few other vitals. Yes, the goat is okay, I'm fine. He's so worried about me. Then he looked over at the canvas in front of us and gasped. Yes, glazed my art. What I had painted was a bloody, fleshy flower in full bloom. Observed from a distance, it looked like a human silhouette. Taku stared at it for a moment, then looked back at me.
相変わらずすごい絵だな。俺は芸術方面は点で疎いが、お前の描く絵がとんでもないってことはわかる。
He really likes it.
だからお前が絵を描くための題材を求めるのも理解しているつもりだ。
Yeah, about that. That's fair. I mean, we are kind of acting reckless. I looked down at my feet without responding. Taku had never approved of me sleeping around. He knew no amount of chastising me would get me to stop, so he had given up. To him, the euphoric episodes were like a sex thing. Granted, this wasn't altogether wrong, but I was a grown adult who didn't need to be babied. I was starting to think Ray was right about Taku being overprotective. Sus. Let me find out Taku's sus.
もうちょっと待ってろ。
He must have interpreted my silence as complete and utter exhaustion. Patted me lightly on the shoulder and straightened up.
何かあったらすぐ連絡しろよ。そうだ。
Right as he opened the door to leave, he seemed to remember something. He turned back.
生稲さん、無事に退院したらしいぞ。レイと話してたんだが、もうすぐクリスマスだろ。
Okay, Iguina's out.
やるから来いって。もう早いもんだ。
So we're gonna go to a Christmas party with Ray and Taku. Shaking his head, Taku walked out. In his absence, silence filled the room. I slowly rose to my feet and grabbed the remote. All my life, I despise silence. For some reason, quiet places felt intensely suffocating and always made me break out in a cold sweat. TV static, however, was reassuring. It always filled the void with its loud, endless drone. Ikuina had been discharged, but I felt nothing. My interest in a given art model ceased to be after the euphoric episode was over. Like, hey, we got what we wanted. Cheers. We're chasing the guys off of us, you know. Like a one-night stand, my life moved on without them. Hello. Yeah, BRB. Alright, one trip. Cause I'm like that. Smoking more cigarettes, cause that's what I do. I'm out of breath enough. I don't even know no cigarettes. Come to think of it, I had received a few more model inquiries while I was painting. I decided to look at them later. For now, I would enjoy the bitter taste of nicotine on my tongue. Yum. Gotta love that. Gotta love the bitter taste of nicotine on your tongue. Have y'all tried Zins? Zins? Please, grant me thy salvation. What am I? I'm dying? Chapter 2. Doctor. Number 15.
Number 15. Burger King foot lettuce.
Okay, Friday, December 20th. So, Christmas party is in a few days. It's 11:47. We're at our atelier. When Taku told him I finished my painting, a very worried Ray showed up with a veritable mountain of home-cooked food and forced me to eat it. Wow. Oh no. Good food. After that, unsurprisingly, my body, or more specifically my stomach, felt like lead, so I laid down on the sofa. Ray claimed he was just making sure I wasn't malnourished, but if you ask me, he was very... I'm like, what does that sound? We're watching TV or something? Ray claimed he was just making sure I was malnourished. I wasn't malnourished, but if you ask me, he was every bit overprotective as Taku. It wasn't pleasant to stuff myself with food when my body was so used to going without. Just like so skinny and frail and like, you know. When my stomach finally settled, I picked up my cell phone and tapped around while I had a smoke. I opened my inbox and skimmed through the replies to the art model listing. Some applicants had attached photos to their emails, but none of it really caught my interest. Right as I was starting to think they were all duds, however, my eye landed on the subject line of the final email. Oh, Holy Savior, grant me thy salvation. I am your faithful servant. I have no words to describe the beauty of your heavenly messengers. The content of the poem was religious in nature. I'd received several emails like this in the past, but they seemingly changed their email address every time because none of my responses ever went through. So these days I just ignore them. I was curious at first, but after reading the same thing over and over, the novelty had worn off. Unless the tone of these poems got a lot more urgent. Somehow, I couldn't see myself caring. I closed the email and navigated to Roost's blog. Okay, we posted our art. Let's see what the response is. The article at the top featured my latest Euphoria piece. Ray must have uploaded the photos he took when he came by. Ray looking out. Shout out Ray. I felt like going down to have a drink and not just because of the blog. So I pulled on my coat and left the apartment. My body felt heavy from days and days of barely moving. Slowly but surely, I headed to Roost. So we're back at Roost, our stomping grounds, the bar that we like to chill at that Ray works at part-time. After being cooped up for so long, the nippy night air felt pleasant against my skin. During the day, the air hung low over the bustling city, but the nights were always crisp. The colder, the better. As I approached the downtown area, foot traffic began to increase. The city was decked out in Christmas decorations and classic songs played over the loudspeakers. As the passersby walked along giddily, I spotted a kid clinging to a store display window, tugging on his mom's hand and begging for something. He pointed to a big teddy bear sitting on the windowsill. Oh, how wholesome. The sight made me teary-eyed. For whatever reason, I didn't feel comfortable about it. Aside from the cold weather, I hated the month of December. I couldn't explain why, but it repulsed me. For most people, particularly those who lived on the mainland, Christmas was a time of love and joy and hope. But Shikomi was different. Each year, as the temperatures got steadily colder and colder, deaths among the homeless population began to skyrocket. But Shikomi didn't care about unidentified corpses. They had worse crimes to be dealing with. Unfortunately, the city was originally built on a landfill, so there is no shortage of places to dump a body. It's cold out here in these Shikomi streets, man. These days, a lot of them were dumped in District A, the sea of debris caused by sinkholes, since they would be less conspicuous there. This kind of thing was always on the news, but it was so normalized by this point that nobody really cared anymore. Sure, everyone was probably scared at first, but after you lived in it for a while, you would inevitably adapt. Here in the downtown area, the tragedy was buried beneath the festive lights and music. In Shikomi, you could step over a corpse and not even notice. Damn. It's hard out here. 1:58 a.m. Roost, December 21st. Arriving at Roost, I opened the door and walked in.
いらっしゃいってとは大丈夫
While he was on the clock, Ray was all smiles, but as soon as he laid eyes on me, he frowned and raced over. I nodded and then headed to the counter and availed myself of an empty seat.
いらっしゃい。何にする？
ウイスキー、ロック。
Whiskey, urok. The manager promptly set about making my drink. Meanwhile, I put an unlit cigarette between my lips and looked around the bar. Among all the regulars, I could see one unfamiliar face seated at the very end of the counter. As I lit my cigarette, the manager handed me my drink, and I shifted my attention to the glass. I took a long drag and exhaled the smoke. Then I picked up my drink and took a sip. Just then, Ray walked to the counter.
体調は
まあ。
休んでた方が良かったんじゃないの
As he tried to peer at my face, I turned my head and exhaled more smoke.
やだ、おじいちゃんみたい。でも、とはならあり得る話ね。
He laughed, though the worry didn't fade from his face.
今回の絵もとっても良かった。即実物を展示したいって言ってたわよ。ね、店長。
He called over the counter to the manager as he wiped a glass.
ぜひ持ってきてよ。
ってくるわ。いいわよね。とは
ご自由に。
At this, Ray raised his fist triumphantly in the air and the manager smiled. So I let them have the art that I just made. Okay.
あ、そうだ。もうすぐクリスマスじゃない。お店でパーティーす。とはも来なさいよね。
Yeah, Taku told
タ
me.
クから聞いた。
それならなおさら来なさいよ。と。
Someone called from the table area and Ray walked off in that direction. I set my cigarette against the side of the ashtray and took another sip of my drink. Woo! Then as I was taking another drag, my eye wandered back to the man at the end of the counter. He kept fidgeting restlessly, catching my attention the entire time I was talking to Ray. Okay, Sue. Okay, Sue. He was a slender man. Slenderman? I'm from Wisconsin, baby. We don't play that. Dressed in a well-fitting suit and silver-framed glasses. But in a place like this, it was his tidy appearance that made him stick out. Judging from the way he kept glancing all around, he was completely paranoid. His smoke was brown and swaying restlessly. Clearly the guy was freaked out.
店長。
The manager looked at me. I gestured to the man with my gaze.
誰？
He's catching my attention.
ああ。
The manager looked over at him, then paused.
まあ、トワ君には話してもいいかな。誰にも言わないだろうし。
He must be somebody important if they're keeping his identity on the low.
言う相手がいないからな。
Real shit. I have no friends. With a chuckle, he leaned forward over the counter.
あの人、実は医者なんだ。
A doctor? I work at a clinic. He's a doctor.
そう、の先生だよ。
As I took a drag, I glanced at the man out of the corner of my eye. Does he come here a lot?
いや、たまにかな。でもいつも落ち着かない感じですぐ帰っちゃうんだよね。
Baby, I can make you comfortable. No surprise there. I looked back at the bespectacled doctor. Takanokuchi Medical Office, the same place where Ikuina was hospitalized. I heard it was larger and better equipped than Murase Clinic. So their clinic is better than ours. The only reason a deadshot doctor would be called dead at this bar is if he had some unusual proclivities. Then on a whim, my mischievous side reared up. With my cigarette between my lips, I grabbed my glass and stood up. We're putting the move on. We're putting the moves on them. Let's go. Fellas, let's go. Twinks, let's go. Girls, rise up. I walked over to Dr. Specs and sat down next to him. Flinching, he looked at me in alarm, then hastily faced forward once more.
医者の先生なんだって。
So I heard you're a doctor. He's a cute doctor. With a lazy grin, I leaned in close, but he promptly turned his face away. I could see his hands trembling on the counter. His smoke twisted violently, thrashing. This provoked a sadistic urge in me, and I reached out to touch his hand. You not have consent, baby. He got spooked. The moment I made contact, he whipped his hand away and leapt up sharply, his chair clattering behind him. Panicked, he pulled his wallet from his coat pocket, dropped a few bills on the counter, and grabbed his suitcase. Then with a pointed glare in my direction, he stormed out. As I watched this unfold, Ray came barreling over.
ちょっと見てたわよ。手出したの？そういうのやめなさいよね。
Sorry, Ray.
医者なのか聞いただけだ。
初対面からそういうの良くないと思います。
I know. Skinship. Come on. He sighed in exasperation and walked off to the table area. Pinching my cig between my fingers, I grabbed my glass and took a sip of whiskey. Not only was that doctor out of place here, but the moment someone interacted with him, he flipped his lid. Granted, not everyone was predisposed to social interaction, but we didn't often get this type around here, so it was kind of novel. So this doctor is the next guy that we're gonna have to crack and interrogate. Probably. These thoughts only lingered for a moment, however. By the time the whiskey slid down my throat, I had already forgotten all about him. Single mothers and parental neglect, deadly hypothermia cases, a single mother's cry for help. People is dying. That is not very much of the spirit of the holidays. It's not holly jolly. Holly jolly murderous times, no. After a long night of drinking at Roost, Ray flagged me down after his shift ended, and together we went home. Normally he rode a motorcycle to work, but since it looked like it was gonna rain, he walked here instead. And so the two of us set off, me to Mudase Clinic and him to his apartment. As we walked along, chatting aimlessly, a small figure ran past us and into a still active downtown area. Ray whirled around as to give chase, but stopped.
ねえ、今走ってたの。
We both stared down the street but couldn't see any trace of them. Honestly, it wasn't that surprising for a kid to be roaming the streets of Shinkomi at night. They were being chased by someone. Ray pursed his lips.
私、ちょっと。
Ray trying to be a hero, and with that, he took off running. I feel like Toe was not going to follow him. Before I could say a word, he disappeared into the night. I sighed and crouched down on the sidewalk. Technically, I wasn't obligated to wait for him. I could have just gone home without him, but I was already feeling lethargic from the booze. So I decided it was time for a smoke break. I took a drag, exhaled, and watched the passers-by. As I zoned out and enjoyed a smoke, I heard little footsteps, right before something crashed into me from behind. The high-pitched voice caught my attention, and I turned. It's the kid! A young boy was standing there, about 10 years old, grasping for breath, with a look of surprise on his face. We stared at each other for a few seconds, then he crouched down and pressed up against me like he was using me as a shield. Where's Ray? Kid.
何してる?
What are you doing?
離れろよ。親はどうした? 早く帰れ。
Real shit though. The boy shook his head vigorously and refused to move.
おい。
Just then a group of men dashed out from a nearby alley.
この野郎、母親はどこに行ったか言えってんだよ。
Hey, you got beef with the kid's mom? Leave the kid alone. What the kid gotta do with it? They were screaming about something, and when they spotted me, they stopped short.
おい、てめえそいつのなんだ?
Bitch ass nigga, I don't know you. The foot?
さあ。
関係ないなら、その坊主を渡しな。
What do you mean hand over the kid? I'm not gonna grab the kid and give him to you. A man in a red shirt walked up and attempted to intimidate me. Literally attempted. Nigga, I'll blam your ass, man. I looked up at him, cigarette between my lips.
渡せって言ってんだよ。
持ってけば。
The words left my lips in a haze of smoke. Apparently they were after the kid behind me, but I wasn't involved in their business. I'd said as much.
ああ? ふざけてんのか?
The guy in the red shirt was getting pissy. He didn't seem to like my attitude. While they were distracted with me, the boy stood up and took off like a bat out of hell.
なあこれ、間違えれ、捕まえろ。
Two of Red Shirt's buddies ran after the kid. The remaining 3 men stepped up to me. Like, they irritated me so bad. Where the Thule? Come on, Zoe. Need to chill the fuck out.
なわけないだろ。
うるせえ、やっちまえ。
The men all lunged at me at once, dragging me to the ground. Now we getting jumped. Normally I enjoyed pain, but this was not one of those times. These guys were the type who use violence to stroke their own egos, obviously. They never picked a fight with someone their own size. That was not the kind of violence I enjoyed, and I wanted no part of it. So I didn't even bother fighting back. Instead, I lay there like I was waiting out a passing storm. Damn, we got jumped for no reason. That was crazy. When I came to, the men were gone. Instead, I was surrounded by a crowd of onlookers. And y'all ain't help me. As I sat up, I reflexively spat out the fluid in my mouth. Blood. Apparently, they really did a number on me. The slightest movement of my arm made my body ache all over. Like I just got out the hospital. I just got my ass slashed up. And now you're jumping me. This is too much. My left ankle is fucked up. I could hear ambulance sirens in the distance. Someone in the crowd must have called for one. Thanks, guys. At least y'all did that. But I would have sooner crawled home than accept help from strangers. Okay, anyway. Toa, everyone. With that thought, I pressed both my hands to the ground and tried to push myself up. But my left leg refused to cooperate. No matter how many times I tried, I couldn't get up. I really need to get my get back. With a sigh, I reluctantly gave up. Now I'm about to hear Taku's mouth and Rei's mouth. It's honestly Rei's fault. I wouldn't have been. What's going on? It's now 3:43 a.m. and we're at the Takanokuichi. Now we're at the Takanokuichi medical office where they brought Ikuina last time, and I have a feeling I might see the doctor from last night. I have a feeling. Apparently, it was the closest available medical facility. I was carried into the building on a stretcher, then a male doctor arrived and treatment began. Following an x-ray, they determined my left ankle was sprained. At least it's not a fracture. He applied medical tape to hold my ankle in place and told me to go home and put ice on it if it started to hurt. He offered me a pair of crutches, but I declined since I could still walk without putting weight on my left foot. Then he patched up my other injuries and left the exam room. Next, the nurse asked me for my name and contact information. I said my last name was Murase and gave her Taku's phone number. I did this anytime I ended up at a hospital. Most people born in Shikomi didn't have a birth certificate, myself included. Since a lot of people went by fake names and or had no other family, hospitals couldn't turn a profit if they turned those patients away. So while medical facilities were generally averse to treating gangsters and troublemakers, they were willing to overlook a lot of other things. Just then I remembered the doctor I'd met at Roost the other night. Supposedly he worked here. The nurse looked at me dubiously. That's a good excuse. I wasn't sure this excuse would fly, considering I didn't even know what field this Asakura guy specialized in, but she nodded in understanding. Judging from the way he reacted to me, he probably didn't want anyone knowing about his visits to Roost, obviously. So if someone from the bar showed up at his workplace, he'd probably flip. As my inner mischief maker began to plot, I slowly slid off the hospital bed. What is Toa plotting? What now? Honestly, there's enough shenanigans. All their shit has gotten us jumped, cut, stalked, all types of shit. Like, it's just too much. While I was at the billing counter, I asked about Asakura's schedule. They told me he had an appointment available the next day, so I took it. I checked my phone and found a dozen message notices from Rei filling my screen. I wrote back to let him know I was on my way home, then started walking, dragging my hurt leg behind me. Now we're... I got my ass fucking jumped. Taku and Rei were waiting for me in the lobby. As soon as I walked in, they jumped to their feet. Ray pressed both hands to his mouth, blinking back tears. That was where it all started, but I didn't hold him responsible for it. Little guy must have thought Ray was with the thugs who were after him. It's not your fault, Ray. It's not your fault. It's cool. Grinning, I teased him. His guilty expression hardened as he scowled at me. Classic. For a moment, he stared back at me in confusion. Then his glare sharpened. This is Toa we're talking about. Taku held out both hands to Rei in a stop gesture. Then he looked at me. Clearly Ray still felt responsible for my injuries. He started to put my arm around his shoulders. Ray wants to help me walk.
疲れちゃうわよ。それ部屋にたどり着く前に。
まさか。
あんたなら十分ありえるわよ。
ない。
二人ともやめろ。今日はもう自分の部屋でゆっくり休め。
Okay, Dad. In the end, Ray insisted he would help me walk, and I reluctantly went along with it. Both Ray and Taku escorted me into the elevator and up to the 3rd floor. When I returned to my apartment, I sat down sideways on the sofa and stretched my left leg out. Ray brought some ice packs and situated them around my ankle.
足以外の怪我は大丈夫なのか？
Taku looked at me with sympathy.
特に何も言われなかった。
鷹の口医院で見てもらったから大丈夫だとは思うが。
ルーストに鷹の口医院の医者が来てた。
医者？ルーストの客と同じ顔が鷹の口いたってことか？
いや、ルーストでやけに浮いてる客がいたから店長に聞いたら教えてくれた。スーツをかけた男がカウンター座ってそわそわしてるんだ。気にならないわけないだろ。
なるほど。間違えて入ったと。
何度か来てるって言ってた。朝倉って名前の男だ。
Instantly, Taku's expression shifted. He knows this guy. Wouldn't they go to medical school together? Are they exes?
朝倉？まあ。
Taku responded vaguely, then pressed a hand to his mouth.
え？トアがちょっかい出してたあの医者、タクの知り合いなの？
ただ話。
本当かしら？
Don't worry about it. Ray donned a teasing grin, but Taku's expression was still deadly serious.
名前はいつ？
鷹の口医院に
わざわざそこまでしたのか。
I was just in the hospital, so I just like was there. Well, I was there. What?
人に通う挙動不審。今までにない。
それはそうかもしれんが。
Taku seems strangely resistant.
あの朝倉って医者と何かあるのか？
Be honest.
うん。大学の時の先輩だ。
そうなんだ。そうは見えなかったわね。タクよりも
How
若
would
そう
Ray
な
say?
感じ。
He said the quiet part out loud because I was kind of thinking that maybe he's had an easier life. You never know.
俺は留年してるんだよ。
I don't know why that's funny as fuck, but Taku lore is that he repeated the year. And it's okay, it's medical school, it's hard. You know, Taku shot back, scowling.
そうなのね。でもあの先生だけど、やっぱりルーストに通ってるのは。
まあそうだな。
でも人は見かけによらないって言うしね。
確かにそうなんだ。
Taku nodded, his expression still dark.
でもトアがわざわざ深入りしようとするなんて珍しいわね。もしかして
What? He fixed me with a devilish grin.
朝倉先生のこと追いかけたくなっちゃった？
あの店であんな反応されたのは初めてだからな。
確かに無理して来なくてもいいわけだしね。わざわざ来る理由は気になるわ。
Exactly, that's how I feel. Why is you at the gay bar trying to act like you don't want niggas? And you know, I don't understand. And you're in your 40s, like you too grown for that.
だからってからかおうとするなよ。
Who is bullying the man? Why do they keep saying bullying? I shrugged. Taku let out an exasperated sigh.
それじゃ俺たちは帰るぞ。ちゃんと歩けるようになるまで仕事は休め。
So I drink heavy, smoke cigarettes heavy, but I won't take painkillers when I actually need them.
ただでさえ絵を描いたしっかり休んでね。何かあったら連絡ちょうだい。
After the two of them left the room, I reached out to the coffee table. I grabbed a blister pack of sleeping pills, popped two in my mouth, and washed them down with a sip from a liquor bottle off the floor. If I didn't force myself to rest, my body would cease to function. I had no strong attachment to staying alive, but that didn't mean I was eager to die. I had no strong attachment to staying alive, but that didn't mean I was eager to die. Getting that tatted. As long as I was alive, there was always something halfway decent to enjoy. Thus, I was in no hurry to kick the bucket. And so I closed my eye and waited for sleep to force itself upon me. Okay, we got a few hours of rest. It's like the same day, but you know, next day, morning now. Almost 12 p.m. I woke up just before noon, dragging my bad leg. I went into the bathroom and got ready to leave. Today I had an appointment at the Takonokuichi medical office. Taku had warned me not to bully Asakura, but I was dying to see what the guy's reaction would be if a Bruce regular showed up. Now we are actually harassing the guy. And since my ankle was sprained, it wasn't unreasonable that I would want to go back for a checkup. Of course, truth be told, I had full access to a doctor right here at home, but he's not a younger, hot looking for, I mean, he's still hot, but you know. I took the elevator down to the ground floor, and when I walked out, I found Ray standing there. Apparently, he was waiting for the elevator at that exact moment. He blinked at me in surprise.
やだとは今様子を見に行こうと思ってたのよ。
ちょっと
ちょっとどこ？
鷹の口。
Tried to be vague about my destination, but he kept pressing me, and apparently he was really hung up on the idea that my injuries were his fault. I got the sense he would probably want to tag along.
付き添うわ。ちょうどもうすぐで患者さんも多くないし、タクに声かけてくる。
Like, thank you, Ray. I love you. Don't follow me. Don't wait up, babes.
別に俺一人でも。
ダメ。またいつどこで怪我するか分かったもんじゃない。
His tone was uncharacteristically firm.
てて、すぐ戻る。
分かった。
As Ray's footsteps hastily retreated to the back of the clinic, I let out a sigh. It's nice to have people care about you, but also, like, I'm trying to live my life, babe. Back up on me. Ooh, yeah. So Ray borrowed Taku's company car to drive me to Takanokuchi. Ray had both a driver's license and a motorcycle license, and he decided taking the car would be best for my ankle. As for me, I wasn't licensed in anything. I didn't need to be. If I ever wanted to go somewhere far, I took the bus or a taxi. Or a water taxi, eh? The hospital was only a 10-minute drive from Murase Clinic. I could see the tall, impressive building just ahead. Parked the car on the street and entered the premises on foot. Last time I was here, I hadn't seen the big sign out front that read Takanokuchi Medical Office, Internal Medicine, Surgery, and Pediatrics. What's cutesy? Ray helped me walk in through the front entrance, and after we were all checked in, he sat me down in a chair in the waiting room. The room was full of other patients. The walls were dotted with stickers of cartoon characters and lined with shelves of picture books and manga. There was even a Christmas tree decorated with angel dolls and plush toys. Unsurprisingly, for a facility with a pediatric ward, there are a lot of families here. Ray and I didn't really fit in.
子供が多いのね。は小児科がない。
Ray whispered in my ear. Apparently, he was thinking the same thing. As I sat there feeling extremely out of place, I overheard some of the parents talking.
そうなのよ。他の病院にも行ってみたんだけど、うちの子は朝倉先生がいい。朝倉先生が好きなんでしょ？うん、好きもそうよね。朝倉先生がいい。先生は診察も丁寧。先生きっと子供好きなのよ。子供もそういうのがわかるんでしょうね。親としては本当にそうよね。
Apparently, Asakura was highly regarded. About an hour later, they finally called my name. Ray offered to come with me to the exam room, but naturally I declined. Then I rose to my feet and slowly walked down the hall, dragging my leg. Like a dog, like an injured dog. A nurse helped me into the exam room, where I spotted a bespectacled man sitting at a desk. He was wearing a freshly starched lab coat and looked at my charts on his monitor. The room's interior was carefully decorated to appeal to children. If anything, it was the self-serious doctor who didn't seem to belong here. As instructed by the nurse, I took my left shoe off and sat at the exam table. Only then did Asakura finally turn away from the charts to look at me. His aloof eyes met mine. Okay, the yaoi build is killing me right now. Sure enough, it was the man I met at Roost. I recognized him straight away, but his expression didn't shift at all. Maybe he didn't remember me. I purposely curled my lips into a provocative sneer and gazed deep into his eyes.
昨日はどうも。
Asakura furrowed his brow.
ルーストにいただろ。
His sharp, calculating eyes widened slightly. He was clearly flustered, but a moment later he composed himself.
人違いではないかな。おそらく初対面だと思うので。
This is literally only gonna make Tawa bully you more. Evidently, he was planning to play dumb. No surprise there, since we weren't alone in the room.
夜間救急にいらしたそうです。足の方はどうですか？
He crouched down and touched my ankle.
まだ腫れていますが、安静にしていれば引いていくと思います。1週間後くらいにまた来てください。一応痛みがひどい時のための薬を出しておきましょう。
He spoke in a clinical tone. Then he straightened up, returned to his computer, and typed something into my chart. I hopped off the table and put my shoe back on, all while scrutinizing his face and profile. His repeated attempts to stay composed had me curious, but maybe he'd come back to roost sometimes. Better not push too hard in the beginning.
それと
As I headed for the door, he called after me.
あの店には気分転換で飲みに行くだけだ。変わった店だからな。
I heard him muttering and turned back to find him glaring at me. So this is the real you.
そう。
I smiled back faintly. His eyes lit up in anger. Just then, the door suddenly opened and a young boy ran in. He made a beeline straight for Asakura, his arms outstretched. Asakura looked surprised for a moment, then smiled and gently grasped the boy by the shoulders.
おや、どうしたんだい、まさきくん。
こらダメでしょマー君。
A young woman, presumably his mother, rushed into the room and scooped him into her arms.
もうごめんなさい。目を離した隙に。
いえ、大丈夫ですよ。でも、転んで怪我をしたら危ないので、しっかり見ていてあげてくださいね。
はい、本当にすみません。
The mother bowed apologetically to both of us. Asakura watched them with an amused smile. This was nothing like the barely civil attitude he had shown with me. Right before the woman left the room, however, she stopped and turned back.
Sensei. 明日のチャリティーイベントお願いしますね。
After the mother and son left the room, the smile faded from Asakura's face. He's so fake. He's so fucking fake. His stoic mask returned, and with a glance in my direction, he turned back to his desk.
次の患者さんが待っていますので申し訳ありませんが
The dramatic transformation had piqued my interest, but I decided to back down, for now. Back in the waiting room, I reunited with Ray and sat down beside him. Now to pay my bill. The room was filled with even more families than when I left. Children's voices echoed through the air.
ね
Ray began awkwardly.
え、私たち場違いじゃないって感じよね。
まあそうだな。
なんだか幼稚園にいるみたい。別に子供が苦手なわけじゃないんだけど、そわそわしちゃう。
I was like, bro, what are we
早くお会
doing?
計呼ばれないかしら。
He squirmed in his chair and looked at me.
そういえば次はいつ来ればいい？
1週間後。
そっか。腫れと痛みさえ引けば問題ないんでしょ？
ああ。
He was right, of course, but I had a different reason to come here. To see Asakura and gauge his reaction. Now that I'd met him, I could tell he had some deep underlying reason to go to Roost. Obviously. While he was a level-headed guy, he wasn't the cunning type. The more he tried to hide the truth, the more likely he was to spill it. He was a piñata full of candy, and I wanted to see what was inside. 20 minutes later, my name was finally called. Damn, y'all honest as fuck. I'm out of here. I got seen and everything. Y'all can catch me on the flip side. Ray went up and handled the payment for me, and then we left the building. This thing is spoiled by Ray and Taku, like they take care of everything for him. It must be nice. Must be nice. We're back home. Ray had lunch plans with a friend, so after we parked back at the clinic, he got out and walked off. As for me, I went up to my apartment to rest on the sofa. All that hobbling around had worn me out. When lunchtime rolled around,
足の方はどうだ
高野口医院に行ってきた。
he walked over and crouched down to examine my injured ankle. I was smoking at the time, so I turned my head and exhaled the smoke away from him.
朝倉先生は
Why do you want to know?
予約を取ったからな。
I raised my eyebrows playfully.
ご想像にお任せで。
たくお前の趣味に付き合わせるのはにしとけよで昼食なんだが歩けるか柳川コーヒー店に行こうかと思うんだが
As long as I walked slowly, I wouldn't have any trouble. I nodded, and together we headed out. We took the elevator down to the ground floor, then exited the building. This was my second excursion of the day, except this time the sun was unpleasantly high in the sky. Squinting against the harsh sunshine, I headed down to the brightly lit street. The walk to Yanagawa Cafe took a little bit longer than usual thanks to my bad leg. There we ordered 2 honey toast meals off the lunch menu.
朝倉先生はどうだった
Taku looked at me as he cut up his toast and popped a forkful into his mouth.
堅物って感じだった。
だろ
His lips curled in a half smile.
小児科もやってるんだよな
は好きみたいだな、あの先生。
It was an offhand comment, but Taku's expression darkened. He lowered his knife and fork. Guys, I'm scared. What does he know about this guy?
朝倉先生のところへはまた行くのか
I nodded and fixed him with an inquiring look. He took a sip of his coffee, then looked back at me. His expression conflicted.
だいぶ前の話になるんだがある噂を聞いてな
There's a rumor. What's the rumor?
噂？
Taku looked away as if uncertain where to begin.
なんていうかその少々物好きとでも言うかなそれも見ていて目に余る実際のところはわからん
If there are rumors going around about it, then there must have been some incident in the past that sparked it.
何かあったのか？
朝倉先生が前にいた病院で良くない噂が立ったらしいそれでその病院を辞めてきたようだまあほら腰を落ち着ける人間なんて大体訳ありが多いからな
Oh my god, guys. I can't do this.
自身も含めて。
We gonna find out Taku's tea soon? I meant that as a joke, of course. He scoffed.
当然だの面倒ずっと見てるんだぞ
Fair enough. I laughed and started cutting up my untouched honey toast.
今は朝倉に対する母親たちの評判悪くないみたいだけどな。
Everyone I overheard talking about him had nothing but nice things to say.
噂は所詮噂だ勘違いされて広まっただけなのかもしれん医者としての腕は確かだしな
Taku lifted his mug to his lips. In a blink, his plate was empty. I took a bite of the crust and wondered how he always managed to eat so fast.
そういえば明日はイベントがあるから休みだ
イベント？
新興味制度ってあるだろあそこでチャリティーイベントがあるんだま、お前は怪我してるからな無理に出る必要はないぞ
That's the event that they were saying that doctor's going to a charity event. Come to think of it, the woman who came into the exam room mentioned something along those lines. And Asakura said he would be there.
行くよ。
So of course we're gonna go. Taku looked at me in surprise.
何か悪いもんでも食べたのか？
I'm nosy, obviously, trying to figure out what the fuck is going
な
on.
っちゃいけない
お
の。
前そういうキャラじゃないだろ。
たまにはそういう気分になることもあるんだよ。
Sure. In truth, my motivations lay elsewhere, but he didn't need to know about that. I ate about half of my honey toast and drank my cold coffee. Rumors of pedophilia. Okay, here we are, guys. This is not where I was expecting this to go, but here we are. After lunch, Taku went straight back to the clinic. I could have gone with him, but instead I opted to wander around town. As I walked, I lit a cigarette and took a drag. Guess I'll wander for a bit. Alright guys, time for exploration. We're gonna try to collect some inspiration for our interrogation later. I'm assuming the blue means there's some type of inspiration. So let's check out Central Park. Okay, so this is the Sakaki guy who was our mom's friend.
ま
Every now and then you don't need a calendar to know that it's Christmas. It's everywhere you look. From the decorations to the music. This time of year I was, reminiscing about an old flame or something. Our mother. Nothing like that, though. I do have some special memories. It's Christmas today, the Lord was born. The memories I have are polar opposite of festive, I'll say that. Oh, you have some too, don't you? Give a positive response to agree. I should probably dodge the question. Briskly? What is brisk, guys? Respond bluntly.
あ、ポジティブに。全くないな。よし。
Alright. I'm just gonna go everywhere and like see who's there, talk, see if they give us anything.
Yes!
Wait, what happened to you? You're hurt. Taking a break or something? Yeah, something like that. I had ramen for lunch. Now I'm just killing time. Okay, so you might already know this, but the other day I overheard something at the office. They said Sakaki-san and Tuno-san were always at each other's throats. They used to be good friends.
そうだな。
I don't know the details, but it was back when Kaka-san was around. And then that big fight happened and the two of them had a falling out. So it's like the gang drama. Honestly, don't really get Tuno-san, you know? He's smart and competent, but he never shows his hand, if you know what I mean.
どうすか？
He's scary and unapproachable. What do you think about him, Tosin? Say what I'm really thinking. Make a joke. I should play it off casually. I'm gonna make a joke.
ネガティブに。いや。
I guarantee there's not a single person on there who likes being around him. For sure, I bet everybody feels the same way. I know I shouldn't say this, but I have this sneaking suspicion. I think he might be hiding something. Got some inspiration. Alright, got something from there. Find some. The medical office. Like our clinic, it's a privately run building, but it has a lot more room for patients. Supposedly it has all the latest technology too. Most of the patients who come here are families with kids. The waiting room is filled with women and children, so it feels more like a pediatrician's office. Of all the many hospitals in Shinkomi, this one might be the most popular. Oh, this guy's here. You again? Did you know Shinkomi has a lot of hospitals? Almost as many hospitals as we have convenience stores. I think it's because of all the violence. Right on time. I live in Shinkomi, y'all. Shinkomi has a lot of kitty clubs, aka pedophile rings. They're all illegal, of course. And that's where that doctor be at. They rely on the child labor of those born to single mothers or impoverished homes. I hear some of these kids' parents neglect or even sell their kids. Believe it or not, a lot of the customers look like ordinary folks. You can't judge a book by its cover.
ダメ。
Takasato Gumi controls the Shinkomi police, so they won't do anything. For years, the mainland has been trying to come in for a crackdown, but it hasn't been going well for them. Right now, they're searching for a way to get their foot in the door. I think. There are too many people in Shinkomi who end up dead or missing. These numbers would be unthinkable back on the mainland. Lots of folks freeze to death in the winter, so the alleys turn into graveyards. But that's normal here, isn't it? Unbelievable. Did you know? They say the goddess of whimsy has vanished without a trace as of 2 or 3 weeks ago. Oh, and Euphoria published a new painting. No, I haven't seen it yet. I wonder what it looks like. Now we're gonna Tajima's.
あんたか。
どうも。
What about you? Got yourself hurt? That's what happens when you don't put any effort into your lifestyle. Can't argue with that.
気をつけな。
No, by the way, have you been watching TV lately? Shinkomi has been negotiating more with the mainland, trying to decide whether to merge with it or maintain the status quo. Originally, Shinkomi was designated as a special administrative region of Japan, but there's a lot of opposition to it. Some want the city to rejoin mainland Japan, and others want it to maintain its independence. These two groups have been at war for years. Supposedly, the mainland's worried about the crime or what have you, but I reckon they're more interested in what little profit is left to be made here.
どうなんだい。
What do you think?
ポジティ
You
ブに。
look serious, so I'll
いいん
respond.
じゃないか。
I like my life at Shinkomi. It shouldn't change. Everybody feels that way once they get acclimated. All I can say is when it comes to the men in charge, both here and on the mainland,
呆れたよ。
no matter how they sugarcoat their bullshit, they're all the same.
そうか
Right. Amen to that.
それで
You're always buying candy cigarettes, aren't you? Given this, it'll be 400 yen.
これは
The change. You give me a 1,000 yen bill and tell me to keep the change? Fine then, I'll happily accept you.
どうも。
She's cool. I fuck with that old lady. I think we went everywhere. This is Coco Street, the place that sees the most traffic in District D. While District B has all the most famous casinos and resorts, District D has a fair share of tourist attractions too. As I was walking down Coco Street, I spotted Mayu on the side of the road talking to a woman in a flashy dress. It sounded like they were speaking in a different language.
トワだ。
Don't see you. The woman replied in Chinese and walked off into the red light district.
平気？
What happened, Tawa? You hurt your leg?
あ
Yeah, long story. You need to be more careful. You're always zoning out. Is that a friend of yours?
そうよ。
Yeah, we grew up in the same town. When she needs to vent, I listen. Her job is difficult with lots of problems.
トワ。
Say, Tawa, are you free now? Casually decline. Euphoria. I'll be nice.
ポジティブにないな
No.
うん。
Magnet Sensei. I want to invite you. The hell is that? Maybe if I feel like it. That means no. Oh well, I'll invite you again sometime.
それじゃあね。
Bye. Red light district. This is the main axis of the city's sex
Eh?
tourism. What are you doing here, Ray?
どうかした？
Like, what are you doing here? I mean, what about your leg? You're not pushing yourself, are you? Fine. But seriously though, what's up? You're not spying on shady business, are you? And if I am, liar, liar, pants on fire. There's no way you would do that. You're just wandering around and looking for hookups like usual, aren't you? I've got your number, mister.
あ、ね
But that reminds me. Say, can I ask you for a favor? Can I ask you something? Are you really only interested in hooking up? You never had a serious relationship or anything like that? Ray seems to want a serious answer. Honestly, dodge the question. I'll answer.
ポジティブにいや
Nope. So I'm pretty sure about that. Guess you have like zero intention of ever settling down with someone, huh? Correct. You're not
Nine.
interested in romance? Never started
え。
out?
教えてよ。
Really? But is that how you really
そう
feel?
か
Why would I lie to you? Good point, I guess. You always stick to your
行くわね。
I should probably get going. I'm in the middle of shopping. Sorry for holding you up. Alright, we got something from there. Check out Murase. I don't want to miss out on any inspiration, so I'm just going to check out all the places. If anyone knows, like, how to know where the inspiration is, let me know.
うん。
Oh, hey, Tawa.
よ
Were you sleeping? Just a quick nap, I guess. I was tired. Any patients waiting? Doesn't look like it. Maybe I'll get a little more rest. You probably need it.
そうだな。
Say sugar's the best pick me up when you're feeling drained. Come to think of it, did you see that limited time Christmas menu they had at Yanagawa Cafe? The one with lots of cakes? Yeah, I bet Ray would love it. When I saw it, I thought to myself, you know, I might actually eat cake if it's made at Yanagawa. What do you think? I guess you'll have to try it and find out. Alright then, when I'm ready to give it a shot, you better come with me. That way you can take over if I tap out. I don't even eat. It's obvious what Taku wants to get played off, play along. I'll play
Positive.
along. He's nice.
別に
Sure, why not? Sweets every now and then, don't you? I may need your help. Just kidding. The mental image is hilarious.
そうか
Hilarious. Imagine a full-grown middle-aged man going to town on some dessert.
へえ
Do you want to learn to like it? Well, I mean, it's best not to be too picky about food.
よし。
Oops, I gotta get back to work. That's a load off my mind. Thanks. No problem. They have no business anywhere else, so if I fucked up, let me know, y'all. It's the end of the exploration. So I got like 3 new things that I can use during our next interrogation with the maybe pedophile doctor. I'm really hoping he's not one. That would be really cool. Yeah. I dragged my leg back to my apartment where I sank down on the sofa. As I listened to the drone of the TV, I thought about Asakura. While I was curious about what I'd learned from Taku, it was still too early to tell how this was going to pan out. I mean, I think we'll do an interrogation, figure out what the fuck he's got going on, and then obviously make some art from that. I don't know. That night when I arrived at Roost, I found Kotaru, Mayu, and Eiji sitting at a table.
あれ、足引きずってませんか？怪我した？
Girl, you saw me earlier. Just now. They all called out to me as I entered. I walked over and sat down in an empty chair at their table. Ray was working that night. Naturally, the worrywart flew straight over.
とは
まあま
無理はしないでよ。
あ任せる
わかったわ。
He nodded and headed off to the counter. Generally speaking, I was willing to drink anything as long as it was alcoholic, but the manager knew my preferences, so I usually just let him choose for me. I reached into my coat pocket, grabbed my smokes and my lighter, set them on the table.
で、なんだよその足。喧嘩か？
I got jumped, not even a fight.
襲われた
Yeah.
誰に？どこで？
Help me go jump the bleep.
ガキを追いかけ回す大人
うわ、災難でしたね。出ちゃったんですね。
G had taken out his toolkit and was tinkering with a small black box on the table.
プラスチック爆弾です。最新式の。今ちょっと流行ってるやつなんで気に入らないところがあって調整しようかなと。
He smiled brightly as he continued his explanation. This nigga just casually created a little fucking garage bomb.
バカ、や言っただろ。どうすんだよ。
しないですよ。そんなヘマしません。何しろ爆弾愛好家ですから。
オタクだろ。
Bomb otaku is crazy.
愛好家です。それに大した威力じゃないですよ。
どの程度なわけよ。
It will blow all of it
多
up.
分くらいです。
よくわかんないけど十分やばいね。っていうかまだあるのに今死にたくないよ。
Very valid, very valid.
たく、お前もお前で理由がどうしようもねえな。これだからオタクはよ。
Kotaru folded his arms and scoffed. But Mayu paid him no mind. He kept dipping his lollipop into his booze and putting it in his mouth. As I was smoking a cigarette, Ray came over and placed my drink on the
これ
table.
マスターのおごりだってお見舞い代わり
I looked over at the counter. The manager nodded at me, smiling. I raised my glass in a toast to him. It's like lipstick all over. Your lipstick stain. Hey, sauce. I think the drink is kicking in. Maybe a little bit. Maybe just a little silliness, a little silliness.
にしてもよ、ドアは怪我しても楽だよな。なんだって病院で働いてんだから。
ああ、そうね。毎日見てもらえ。あれでもトワさん、確か高野口院に救急搬送されたんですよね。
Why are you in my business? Edgy stopped tinkering and looked up at me in surprise. Considering he often boasted about his intel gathering skills, I didn't bother asking how he knew.
じゃあ逆にめんどくさいね。わざわざ違う病院に通うの。
I was in an ambulance, guys. The ambulance took me to the closest clinic. What don't you guys understand?
そういえば高野口院って
AG paused, tilting his head in contemplation.
どうした？
たまにこの店に高野口院の先生が来てたなって思って。
They know about him.
そうなの？よく知ってるな。
Okay. How are you impressed when you just said you're not surprised if the guy knows everything? Now we need to ask him. They pissing me off. Ask this nigga if he knows about the guy. We need to figure out. At this, he donned a smug smirk.
そりゃもう情報なら任せてください。ってトワさんも知ってたんですか？
Yeah, he came here and then I went there. So yeah.
ああ、朝倉だろ。
そうですそうです。ちょっとお堅い感じの。
Straight-laced gentleman.
へえ、そうなの。
Mayu seemed mildly intrigued. He pulled his lollipop out of his mouth.
だいたいカウンターの端っこに座ってますけど、ビシッとしたスーツ姿で来るから目立つんですよ。そんなこの店にはあんまり来ないじゃないですか。それびっくりしたんですよね。
医者がこんな店に来るってことはよ、なんか危ない趣味持ってんじゃねえの？
どうも前に働いて絡みの事件を起こしたみたいで。
So I've heard.
何や。
昔は朝倉先生って小児科医だったらしいんですけど、当時の子みたいな。
ああ。
ですけどね。噂によくあるじゃないですか。それで評判が悪くなって新興見へ引っ越してきたみたい。
訳ありで外から新興見へ来る人なんて山のようにいるよ。
You probably did this shit.
まあ実際朝倉先生にすごく
I'm like, would they like him if he was being weird, or would they not? Is he like turning over a new leaf? Is that what's going on?
子供会を招いたのか、それとも手なずけるのがうまいせんけど。
Frowning, Kotaru waved a dismissive hand.
ガキね。ガキなんざめんどくせえだけじゃねえか。
小太郎、昔から子供嫌いだよね。
俺だけじゃねえぞ。ジョーがいる店の連中もよくそういうこと言ってるぜ。マユ、お前はどうなんだよ。
俺は二次元にしか興味ないね。
Just like me for real. With a Adobe grin, Mayu wiggled his lollipop.
言ってろ。で、その子供好きの先生様、こんな店に来て何してんだ？
That's what they're calling him.
どうしても探してんのか？
さあ、来てもそわそわしてすぐ帰っちゃうんですよね。店に入っては見るけど、長居するほどの勇気はないってところなんじゃないですか？
As they talked, I remembered hearing about a child brothel somewhere in the vicinity. Maybe Asakura kept coming to Roost by mistake.
そういう店がある。俺も聞いたことある。
まゆさんまでよく知ってま
Why
す
do
ね。
either of you know about that? Highly questionable.
その手の友達がいるから
そこ、割と万が一医者が立つよ。
What do you mean in case anything happens? Things are happening. Is that not the point of this place?
んじゃ、こっちよりそっち行った方が確実ですよ。その待機してる医者ってのが先生様だったりしてね。
その可能性ある。
Mayu let out a high-pitched cackle like it was the funniest thing he ever heard. So far, this is all in line with Taku told me. The checkered past of a doctor beloved by children. What would bring him to Roost? It was possible he only came here because he was too afraid to go to the place he was actually looking for.
Eiji, それ調べられないか?
Why you coming here? What we got for you? Where?
朝倉がその店に出入りしてるかどうか。
あ、はい、いいですけど、気になるんですか？
Because I wanna know.
ちょっとな。
なんだよと。お前が医者に教室なんて珍しいじゃねえか。
この店に来る医者だからだよ。
Y'all see my art up here? This my spot.
まあどう考えても普通じゃないね。
I mean, neither is Toa, so maybe if I kept digging, I'd find something interesting. What are we looking for? But I'm curious too. Like, is it true, or are you like a gay ass guy who's just like don't want to be openly gay or something? I don't know. Past incidents. I forgot what the clues. So every time we scribble something, it's a clue that we can use later. As my curiosity grew, I grabbed my glass and downed my drink. I drank at Roost until they closed, then stumbled home to the clinic. Back in my apartment, I switched the TV on, then flopped down on the sofa with my coat still on. I pulled out my phone and checked my notice, a few missed calls and 2 emails. The missed calls and one of the emails were from Ikuina Takashi. Ikuina's hitting us up again after we slashed each other. In his email, he wrote that as much as he'd love to be my art model again, he didn't want to be too dependent on me. So he was searching for like-minded people. Every now and then, former models would try to get in touch with me after I granted their wishes. But I never painted the same person twice. Humans were greedy creatures. For some, no amount of satisfaction was ever truly enough. It was like sex or drugs, chasing the same highs over and over just to numb your brain. I had no interest in that. What I sought was the precise moment when a dark dream came true for the first time. I wasn't interested in painting the same person over and over. Once was enough. But Ikuina seemed to recognize that he couldn't become dependent on me, so I was optimistic that he would let go. Either way, I never responded to these follow-up messages. With a small sigh, I closed the email from Ikuina and opened the other one. I hope he doesn't come back at the end and try to murder us. That would suck. Another short poem with nothing else written inside. This was now, the 4th time? With each passing day, my twisted desires grow stronger and harder to suppress. Heavenly Father, I beseech you, grant salvation to your lowly servant, and permit me to kiss your feet. I beg of you, send me an angel, your divine messenger. Is this a doctor? Because last time it was Ikuina on the blog being a creep, going around slashing people. So is this the doctor emailing us? I really wonder. Once again, more blind religious zeal. Judging from the way they described themselves as a servant to their heavenly Father, they were clearly pretty devout. And then the charity event came to mind. Someone who wanted salvation was better off praying at a church instead of Euphoria's inbox. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table and grabbed a blister pack of sleeping pills. This nigga really cannot sleep. I popped 2 in my mouth, then washed them down with lukewarm swig from the floor bottle. Just like, there's a floor bottle. The floor bottle. Then I slowly closed my eye. One eye open when I'm sleeping. Hey, Toa, wake up. Next morning, Taku shook me awake and drove me to the charity event. Today, he'd actually overslept for once, so when he came to get me, he was rougher than usual.
最近忙しいからな。
What is he going through? Muttering under his breath, he drove at the maximum speed limit, and we arrived at the church 20 minutes later. It was formerly known as the Shinkumi Cathedral, but most called it the church. It was located in an upscale neighborhood on the outskirts of District C. After we came to a stop in the parking lot, Taku got out and helped me out of the car. The ground was wet, and the air was humid. It must have rained at some point early in the morning. Shinkomi Cathedral, 10:20 a.m., December 22nd. Across the river, we could see District D. Ironically, this is the only remaining connection between the upper and lower classes. The charity event was basically a flea market, where the church took donated goods and sold them. There were food and drink stands, and even a gospel choir performance. All proceeds were donated to the local welfare facilities. A row of portable canopies had been set up out front, with tables full of wares beneath them. Crowds of adults and children alike swarmed around. Apparently, Murase Clinic had volunteered to help run the event. Who led me along, I spotted a man in a suit just ahead. That was Tuno. 2 of his goons trailed after him. I felt Taku stiffen up.
Yeah, これは.
Tuno's sharp eyes pierced each of us in turn. His lips were smiling, but the rest of him wasn't.
村瀬先生じゃないですか。それにトアも。怪我したのか?
He spoke in an almost theatrical voice as his gaze drifted down to my leg.
まさかお前がチャリティーに参加するとはな。
At this, Tuno let out a dry laugh.
もちろん。お前こそについてるよ。
And with that passive-aggressive comment, Tuno started walking like he had already stopped caring.
じゃあな。
Taku stared after Tuno and his goons with a pained grimace on his face.
タク、 Toa!
At the sound of my name, I looked over my shoulder and saw Ray striding toward us.
おう
A relieved smile rose up on Taku's face.
こんなところにいたのね。探しちゃったわ。さあ、行きましょう。ああ、トアはゆっくりでいいからね。
That wasn't even necessary. Two of them started walking and I hobbled along after them. We progressed through the rows of identical tables until we finally came to a stop, partway in.
ここが今日するスペースね。
The table was lined with small appliances, daily necessities, and 3 folding chairs. I can sit down. I'm okay. I walked up to the chair and slowly lowered myself onto it. Then Taku and Ray got everything set up, and our peaceful, boring day at the charity event began. Visitors of all ages passed by, from groups of older ladies to families with kids to young women browsing alone. We actually sold a fair amount of stuff, and our stock was slowly dwindling. I was so bored, I started craving nicotine. But when I took out my cigarettes, Taku scowled at me.
ここでは喫煙スペースがあるだろう
It's over there. Reluctantly, I started to rise from my chair. Just then, a strong impact knocked me off balance and my body pitched sideways.
危ない！
Taku and Ray both reached out to me, but it was someone else who caught me. Doctor? Are we going doctor? I'm going the doctor or Ikuina.
Oh.
The two of them stared in shock at me, or more accurately, the person directly behind me. I followed their gaze to find Asakura standing there, his face inches from mine. The doctor. Nigga, is you a pedophile or not? He looked at me sharply, then crouched down. He got bad dealings going on. This is the boy who was running from the people. I'm sure Ray will recognize him. A young boy was clinging to his legs, staring awkwardly at the ground. Evidently, he was the one who bumped into me that night and got my ass jumped. It's him, Ray murmured under his breath.
隼人君、周りを見て歩かないとダメだよ。隼人君がぶつかっこの怪我をしているお兄さんが転びそうになったんだ。お兄さんにちゃんと謝ろうか。
Asakura gently chided the boy until he timidly looked up at me. That was when I saw the dark purple bruise on his face. No chance he got that from the collision with me.
ごめんなさい。
He bowed his head in an apology. With a soft smile, Asakura stroked his hair. Hayato looked up at him and gleefully leapt into his arms. Hayato. So we're gonna have to ask him about Hayato. Hello, Dr. Asakura. Taku greeted the man stiffly. Beat his ass, Taku. Asakura's eyes widened slightly. A moment later, he furrowed his brow. Hayato seemed to sense the tension because he hid behind Asakura in fear.
お久しぶりです。今は高そうですね。村瀬クリニックか。もしかしたらそうじゃないかとは思っていたが。ねえ、朝倉先生は。
Taku paused to glance down at Hayato hiding in Asakura's shadow. Yeah, who is this kid to you?
なんだ
Asakura spoke in a defensive tone. Taku shook his head. Come on, Taku, stand up! Taku, stand up! Japanese people, man. Asakura glared at Taku, then looked at me next to him.
君は村瀬君の知り合い
Problem? We are teens, bro. Problem.
クリニックのスタッフだよ。
スタッフ働いてるのか。それなら村瀬君に見てもらった方がいい。
Okay, but I'm a staff member. Maybe I don't want to be at the clinic that I work at. Mind you, I was in the ambulance, and you were the closest clinic, bro. What aren't y'all understanding? Y'all acting like he took his ass all the way to Takanokuchi Clinic.
では失礼する。
Yeah, you better be going. He sneered coldly, then put a protective arm around Hayato's shoulders and walked up. Who the mom? Who's this kid's mom? Why didn't Taku finish asking? And then why didn't Ray speak up? You're the one who ran after the kid the other day. You ran after him. Why did you say nothing right now? Why did you say nothing? Ahead of them, a woman came running in their direction. Was she Hayato's mother? Even at a distance, I could tell she was young and wearing flashy clothes. Silently, Taku watched Asakura with a hard look on his face.
ねえ、この間、私が追いかけた子じゃない？
Yeah. Ray whispered to me, his eyes fixed on Hayato.
あの時は顔がよく見えなかったんだけど。
Yes, it's him.
そうかもな。
I hadn't cared enough to pay attention, but he sure acted like the same kid.
それに、あの顔のあざ。
Somebody beat his ass. Ray
虐待の可能性か。
Ray seemed to suspect that something else had caused it. You think someone's abusing him?
可能性の一つとしてね。
I didn't have a response, so I shrugged vaguely. Taku's expression was still stiff, and he looked like he was thinking hard.
朝倉とは親しかったのか？
At my question, he looked up. He had mentioned that Asakura was the senpai at college, but it seemed like there's more to the story. And he said, And I get the sense that two of you aren't exactly buddies.
あの人の子供好きは
でもなんだか
少なくとも大学時代から続いてるんだ。だが
He spoke vaguely, like he didn't want to get into it. I thought back to the conversation I'd had with Kotaro and the gang. A child brothel where they kept a doctor on hand for emergencies made me viscerally uncomfortable. I didn't understand why I felt so intensely about it. Well, I feel like that's natural. I feel like naturally you would, but also maybe we have trauma. Maybe we have trauma of our own that we haven't uncovered. But I could feel a weight on my chest suffocating me. Was Asakura really a pedophile? He couldn't be. Somehow it didn't feel like the right answer. So he's innocent. I didn't have any proof. It was just my gut instinct. I think Toa's gut is pretty good, so something's up with Asakura. Maybe he's not a pedophile, but there's something that caused these rumors. He's got some weird shit going on about him. To take my mind off things, I looked up at the steeple piercing the clear blue sky. By the time the charity event ended, the sun had started to set. Taku and Ray had gone home, while I chose to stay behind. Reason being, I wanted to check out the inside of the cathedral. I never cared much about church before. Perhaps it was a whim, inspired by those religious poems. As volunteers milled about, cleaning up after the event, I walked up to the doors and stopped short. Next to the door was a bulletin board covered in flyers and Bible verses. I peeked inside and saw a large crucifix hanging on the far wall, directly opposite the doors. A handful of people were sitting in the perfectly symmetrical pews. I felt especially dark in there, possibly because the sun hadn't completely set outside. A gust of warm air brushed my cheek, and I hesitated to enter. Most people felt at peace in these quiet places, but I couldn't stand them. My rational side didn't see what difference it would make to pray here versus anywhere else. A voice called out from behind me. I turned to find a nun sitting there, wearing a habit and a smile.
初めていらしたのかしら。
ま
遠慮せずどうぞ。
At her insistence, I walked in. Over time, my eye adapted to the dark interior, and I started to notice little details. Not everyone seated in the pews was praying. Some were just staring into space. There was even a homeless guy conked out.
こんな時代だからか、祈りを捧げに来られる方は意外と多いんですよ。
The nun walked up beside me.
それから懺悔をしたいという方もいらっしゃいます。皆さん許されたいと。
Half listening, I looked up at the painting on the wall. The painting depicted dozens of angels flying through the sky. Angels. The poem flashed through my mind. I beg of you, send me an angel, your divine messenger.
あの絵気になります？
The voice snapped me back to reality. Beside me, the nun gazed up at the painting with an amiable
と
smile.
っても綺麗な絵ですよね。有名な作品というわけではないんですけど、最近も毎日のようにこの絵を見るために足を運ばれる方がいらっしゃって。
The doctor.
毎日
はい。聖堂を閉める時間の午後5時前にこの絵を見ると心が安らぐんだそうです。
So I'm gonna stay 5 minutes to close so that I can find the person who's writing the poems. Frankly, the painting didn't seem all that special to me, but different strokes for different folks. I got the sense that this nun was gonna hover over me the entire time, so I inclined my head and hurried out. Outside, the sun had set and the sky had darkened to navy blue. The heat that had enveloped my body swiftly evaporated in the night air, and my breath turned white. Compared to the gentle warmth, the biting cold put me at ease. And so, as I thought back to the soothing painting, I slowly headed home to the clinic the next day. In exchange for having participated in the charity event on Sunday, Taku decided to close the clinic on Monday as a replacement day off. I woke up in the afternoon and dragged my sprained ankle to Takanoguchi Medical Office for my appointment. Takanoguchi Medical Office, 1:22 p.m. After I checked in, I went down and sat on a vacant chair. Once again, the waiting room was full of mothers and children. Business was booming. After about an hour, my name was called and I headed to the exam room. I don't know why you're making that sound as if you didn't tell me to come back in a week. As soon as I entered, Asakura glared daggers at me.
村瀬に見てもらえばいいだろう。
Oh yeah, he did want me to stay at work. Bitch, that ain't who was treating me. You my doctor. And I want to see you. This is quite impressive actually. Like I didn't know. I have so many skills that I didn't even know I had. I think the alcohol's setting in. As I sat down on the chair, I smiled faintly.
あっちだと身内だ。いろいろうるさくて来ちゃまずかったか。
Started at my pointed question.
患者以上拒否はしない。
What else would I be coming here as?
患者として聞きたいことがある。
なんだ。
先生を信頼するためにもいろいろと教えてほしいんだよ。いろいろとな。
There goes Toa, bullying him. He frowned at the implication of my statement.
君は一体何？
先生のことが。
Simple.
それなら帰ってくれ。
I mean, my leg hurt too. My ankle hurt and I want to get to know about you. Damn, can't two things you true at once.
鷹の口院の先生で噂が広まってもいいの。
Toa's evil. He said, bitch, talk to me. or I'm a snitch about your gay proclivities. Instantly, his face twisted in fury. Fair enough. You.
さてと、何から話そうか、先生。
Interrogation time.
となどない。
I wasn't expecting like an interrogation that someone's not like ready for. Someone like doesn't want. Wait, what does that say? Provoke him to do what? Okay, I'm just gonna go with my heart and my gut. Not target.
なあ、
What does this mean? It's grayed out. Euphoria is not the goal. Okay, when the hourglass is white, the objective is euphoria. When the hourglass is black and says not target, your objective is madness. I think we definitely fucked up with Ikuina and drove him mad, but it's okay. We live for the toxicity and the madness here, so that's cool. But now here, our objective is madness, so we're gonna try to provoke him. You know I don't bite, right?
それで、
How long have you lived in Shinkomi? He's really on guard. Respond with silence or observe his reaction? I'm gonna respond with silence.
ネガティブ。
Stare at me all you want, but I'm not gonna answer you.
Ah.
Press him a little bit. We both go to roast, right?
No.
We're the same.
まったく君は。
Is that supposed to be a joke? Because it isn't funny.
なるほど。
I should change the subject. You seem pretty popular with kids, huh?
何なんだ。
I am. What's wrong with that? Let's provoke him some.
ネガティブに。それだけか。
Is there a trick to getting them to like you? What's your secret?
何が言いたい。
What's that supposed to mean?
次は。
Are you only working part-time?
それが聞きたいことなの
Is
か。
that really what you wanted to ask? Looks suspicious. Provoke him? Play along. Let's provoke him.
ネガティブ。な。
何が言いたいんだ。
Seems like he's growing unstable.
それから。
ないな。
Stick around.
ネガティブ。なら。
Maybe he's got some tea. Says it's none of my business. I mean, we're driving him mad, so this is good. They're just gonna be confused if I just laugh.
無駄だな。
In the end, they're the same as anyone else who lives.
何が言いたい。
What are you trying to say?
この傷跡。
The scar. What other topic might interest him? Roost, same college as Taku. Past incidents, Hayato. He seems not to fuck with Roost, and that, don't want to bring that up. Let's either do college or past incidents. And I think college is a little safer bet.
同じ大学。
Get into his mind, see what he's got going on.
あんた、タクと同じ大学だったんだろ。
だったら何だと言うんだ。
仲が悪そう。何かあったのか。
別に仲が悪いわけではない。ただ。
Fluster him until he starts talking. Okay, now we've got to fluster.
まだ聞きたいことがある。
もういいだろ
聞かせてくれ。
Tell me what brings you to Roost.
う。それは。
You go there for a change of pace, bro. Relax or provoke him. Let's provoke him.
ネガティブ。
It's interesting. Since he seems so uncomfortable being there, I'm just not used to it.
なあ。
Can you ever get tired being on edge 24/7?
失礼だな。
Whose fault do you suppose that is? So what do I have to do with you being on edge? Seems like he's getting even more irritated. Press him or play along. He's irritated and I want him to talk. So let's play along.
ポジティブに。だから。
So you need Roos, right? A place to unwind. I should say something. You're so hard-headed, it's actually hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna say this then. Please just shut up. Guess I'll go even further. Okay, let's say something. You're not like this when kids are around. Is this closer to how you really feel on the inside? I have no obligation to answer that. Bro, speak up.
それで。
What relationship do you have with Hayato? I've been asked to look after him. Seems a little flustered. Agree or question him?
ネガティブ。本当か。
Is that true? Looked like it was more to it than just that. What are you trying to say? Hiding something? Say nothing? Do a little digging? Yeah.
よし。
Hiding something, be honest.
どうなんだ。
Don't be absurd, of course not.
傷を。
The wound. You won't let anything slip that easily, which means you gotta choose something. We either have to ask about the pedophilia rumors or past incidents. I mean, we're talking about Hayato. So either we're gonna talk about Hayato or past incidents. I don't want to bring this up. He's gonna just shut down.
ハヤト。ハヤトのことをどう思ってる？
君には関係ない。
欲望の答えは？
True desire.
過去の事件。
I'm just nosy, guys. So I really want to know what happened.
過去にいろいろあったって聞いたんだけど、そのせいで新小海に来たんだって。
誰から聞いた？
Everyone knows. Just tell me.
情報通ってのはどこにでもいるもんだろ。
Information spreads. It's just how it works.
君には関係ない。
None of my business.
もういい。
It's enough. I feel like I didn't get enough.
いい加減にしてくれないか。
待った。まだだ。もう少しだけ。
Just a little bit more. Fluster him until he starts talking.
医者としての腕はいいってタクからなのに。なんで
それを必要はあるのか。
知り。
Valid reason.
ノーコメントだ。
じゃあ質問を変える。さっきの続きだ。タクとは仲が悪いわけじゃない。ただ
その話を
気になるからな。
A hint of hesitation crept up on Asakura's hard expression and he lowered his gaze to the floor. I didn't think Murase would be...
村瀬も新興味にいるとは思わなかった。
His lips twisted in a sardonic smirk.
大学時代からしてまともな医者になれるとは思ってなかった。
They're talking shit about Taku. We can't stand for that. We can't stand for that.
どういう意味だ。
知らないのか。
What don't we know about Taku? He quirked an eyebrow in contempt.
あいつは成績が悪いわけではなかったが、そこがとんでもなく悪かったんだ。
Conduct? What do you mean? You have rumors too about your conduct.
不愛想で、人に対する乱暴でな。誰も友人になろうなんて思わなかったし、近づきもしなかった。酒とタバコは当たり前で、手術室に持ち込もうとすることすらあった。薬物をやっているなんて噂もあったな。
I mean, isn't that that's basically House. He's basically House. And like House is like a really good doctor. So like that's not like who cares? No, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
それがまさか開業しているなんて驚いたよ。
I never heard the details of Taku's past before.
今は患者からそれなりに人気もあるが。
Asakura scoffed.
君が村瀬からどんな話を吹き込まれたのかは知らないが、私の知る限りでは最低の男だった。
I don't want to talk. I don't want to. Now you blabbing up the mouth about somebody else. This is real life. This is how people be. Just happy to be a mess. To talk mess about other people.
そんな人間にとやかく言われる筋合いはない。君も同じだ。詮索が目的なら帰ってくれ。
He glared at me as he spoke. Asakura was only doubling down harder and harder, so I decided not to waste any more of my time and slowly rose to my feet. Turned his head as if to avoid looking at me for a moment longer.
あんたは同志を求めてあの店に行くんだろ。あそこ向け。ただし自分を隠さずにさらけ出したやつを。だけどな。
Oh shit, what did you come in here being weird for? You trying to fuck with us or not? I looked at his face, frozen in a profile-like statue. Then something else caught my attention. I could see what looked like silver rods peeking out from the side of his desk. First I thought maybe they were some sort of medical tool, but I'd never seen anything like them at our clinic. What the fuck is that? Then my interest faded and I left the exam room. This nigga be mutilating people or something. He's also probably a mutilator, just like the last guy. Went home to Takunokuchi Medical Office. I walked past the park and caught sight of a familiar figure. It was Taku, crouching down in the sandbox. What was he doing? Then I saw a little boy next to him. Was that Hayato? Taku must have sensed my gaze because he looked over his shoulder at me, then bolted upright and started walking. It's some real interesting shady happening around here lately. Oh, he walked towards us. I thought he was trying to walk away and run. That was gonna scare me. I was gonna be scared. Hey there, Toho.
なんで公園にいるんだよ。
昼食をごちそうになって公園を通ったらあの子が一人で遊んでたから気になってな。
As we talked, Taku looked back at Hayato in the sandbox.
あの子昨日のチャリティーイベントでお前にぶつかってきた子だろ。
I was thinking that he looks sad. Obviously somebody like punched him in the eye. Gang members are looking for him.
どうも家庭環境が良くないよう。母親がほとんど家にいなくていつも一人だと言っていた。鷹の口にも遊びに行くみたいだな。そのことを分かってるんだろう。ここにも
Taku's expression hardened.
昨日チャリティーイベントで見た時から気になってたんだが、あの子顔にあざがあるんだ。腕や足にもあったからそのことを聞いたら
He let out a conflicted sigh.
体のあざは朝倉先生がなんだそうじゃなかった。
If his first reaction to the bruises was to suspect Asakura's involvement, then his opinion of the guy has to be pretty bad. And Asakura's opinion of him, too, is also very bad. And Asakura didn't have anything nice to say about Taku either. Exactly. Setting aside the truth of the matter, it was clear that they disliked each other. Just then the little boy Hayato jumped to his feet and came running over, dusting his hands off.
おじさん、僕もう行くね。
またな。
Waving his little hand energetically, the boy dashed out of the park. Taku watched him go with a pained smile on his face.
こういうのは寂しいよな。あのくらいどんなにひどいことをされても親がそう思ったら放っておけなくなっ親代わりは無理でも少しでも何かできないかと思った。
What are you gonna do? Don't involve me, asked Toa. I can't. It's not my problem. But respectfully, I get it though. That is sad. His voice was full of emotion. Then he looked at me.
そういえば鷹の口委員へ行ったんだろ。
大学の時の話を聞いた。
Told me some tea on you. Not really any tea, but instantly Taku furrowed his brow.
それは聞いたのか。
Yeah.
ああ、
The crease in his brow deepened and he looked down at his feet.
そこまでろ。
He didn't tell me anything really.
落ち着けるのは訳ありのにお前も例が
Town full of cast outs. You know.
それはそうなんだな。
Yeah, but grimacing, he let out a heavy, exasperated sigh.
まあいい。お前は
寄るところがある。
ありふらふらするなよ。
With that warning, he turned away. Truth be told, I was planning to go straight home, but instead my legs carried me in a different direction. Maybe I would grab a drink first. As the sun began to set, I started walking in the direction of the cathedral. For some reason, the angel painting kept nagging at me in the back of my mind. Plus, I was curious why anyone would go out of their way to keep coming back to it. The nun said someone would always run in right before they closed. In other words, right around now. I looked up at the park clock. The little hand was pointing to the 4. The cathedral was scheduled to close at 5 p.m. Maybe I could witness it for myself. When I arrived at the church, I was craving a cigarette, so I paused outside to have a smoke. Right as I crushed my cigarette butt on the floor, a car pulled up, the driver door opened, and a man stepped out. I know, it's gonna be the doctor. I already told y'all earlier. It was Asakura, yes, of course. But he didn't notice me. Instead, he headed straight into the church. I watched him for a moment, then followed. Inside, Asakura was standing in front of the angel painting. As far as I could tell, no one else was around. He craned his neck up at the painting and mumbled to himself under his breath. Here's my thing. Did only Ikawina know that we were Euphoria? Because if he knows that we're Euphoria, if he doesn't know that we're Euphoria, he's gonna be surprised. Just then the email poem sprang to mind. As if to signal the end of his prayer, Asakura let out a long breath and gazed up at the painting in silence. I observed him. A nun came out from the back and quietly approached him. I could hear the clinking of something metallic. She spoke softly, but nevertheless he flinched and whirled around. His behavior was nothing like the way he acted around me. Here he actually sounded humble.
絵を気に入ってくださっているのは私たちも嬉しいので。
そうです。この絵は本当に素晴らしい。
以前にもそうおっしゃられていましたね。
なんとか自分でも思ってはいるんですが。
大丈夫ですよ。神ください。
そうです。
Asakura nodded vaguely, then looked back at the painting. Now I understood the person the nun told me about was in fact Asakura. I told you that, bro. Since there was no reason for me to stick around, I turned my heel and left the church. The sun had set and it was pitch dark outside. As I headed home to the clinic, I thought back over what I just witnessed. The comments Asakura made while looking at the painting. They sounded an awful lot like the religious poems I kept receiving. So I wasn't completely sure Asakura was the person behind them. Who else? Who else would it be? Who else would it be? Apparently he was struggling with something. Taku's remarks rose to the forefront of my mind. Specifically the rumors about Asakura's fondness for children. If he was the one who wrote those poems. As I limped down the street, I felt a fleeting rush. I ain't gonna lie, that it did seem kind of, he was talking about the cherubs, like, oh, you're beautiful angels, like, you're kind of weird. But also, because it said, like, past something, he could also have trauma for when he was a kid, and that's why he feels like he wants to protect kids and help kids. That could be what it is. That could be, and then people just made a rumor about him. We gonna find out, though. We gonna find out. As I limped down the street, I felt a fleeting rush of anticipation. Should we end it here, guys? I feel like that's a pretty substantial amount. We got an interrogation in. 2 nights later, something happens. I don't know. I think you guys should stay tuned for the next video. I was not expecting this type of storyline, but also I kind of feel Toa on that. Maybe this isn't going where we exactly expect it to go. Still, we don't really know exactly what happened with Taku and Asakura. So stay tuned for next episode. We're gonna find that out, I'm pretty sure. Guys, that's all for this episode of Slow Damage. If you like another episode, please hit like and make sure you leave a comment so that I know you guys are watching and then I can get to it faster. And leave a comment of other games you want me to watch maybe, or play. That's not watching. Like the video and subscribe. That's all for today's video. Grey Daisy out. Got it.